Hey there, it's Rachel with Journey Back Quilts, and today we're going to journey back to the basics. We're going to be making hourglass blocks 2 at a time with half square triangles. Let's get started. To make these hourglass blocks using half square triangles, it's super easy and super fun. I love this method. So you're going to need 2 half square triangles, and you're going to put them together with opposite fabrics together so that those seams are going to nest right there in the center. The best way to do that is just to feel it, to pet it. Once it's smooth, you'll know that they're nested in place. If it's bumpy or loose in the middle, you might need to adjust it a little bit, but also your raw edges should match up pretty well too. Okay, now I'm going to draw a line right down the diagonal of this one block. So from point to point. Now we're going to sew a line on either side of this line at a 1/4 inch seam. So let's go do that. Okay, I'm going to put the 1/4 inch seam guide line of my foot right on that line, or you can line it up with your seam tape here, your diagonal seam tape, and just sew right down that line. And sew right off the block. Leave your needle down, lift your foot, rotate, and then sew down the other way. You may have to stop, like my foot here likes to catch on that seam. Lift your foot, get it under that block. There we go. All right, and then with this method, I like to set my seams. So I'm just going to iron this flat real quick just to make sure everything is nice and flat again, just in case any of my stitches made the fabric bunch. And then I'll see you at the cutting board. Okay, I just ironed it flat real quick just to make sure everything was nice and neat, and we're going to trim it down that diagonal seam, and voila, we have 2 hourglass blocks made so fast. Look at that, and perfect points. Love it. Now we need to just iron these and then square them up, and we'll be ready. So like the other lesson where we spun our seams, I'm going to do that again. So since this seam is going to the dark blue and this is going towards the dark blue, we're going to just keep going around with our seams. So this one's going to come down and this one's going to come up. And that just opened real nice. Sometimes there's a little stitch in there you have to pick out with your seam ripper, but sometimes they just open really nice like that. So then you're going to press that. And look at that cute little 4 patch right in the center. Isn't that fun? So always flip it over to the other side again and make sure that your seams look the way you want, because you want your block to come out the right dimension. It's easy to have some of your fabric fold over and iron down, and you won't even be able to tell unless you're really looking that there's a little bit of a flap right there. So make sure that it ironed all the way. You can kind of see your stitch line right in between each of those seams. So you'll know that all of your fabric has opened up where it's supposed to be. Let's do that to this one as well. Now this one's going the other direction. So this one's going here. So instead of this one going down, we're going to push that one up. And you'll see it's natural for it to go one way and not the other way, because this won't open right here in the center unless it goes a specific direction. And last lesson, we made them 2.5 inches. These half square triangles were 3.5 inches to start with. So they are making a 3-inch block. But if I want to put them together with my other 2.5 inches, I may want to make them the same size. So I'm going to cut down these a lot more than I need to, just for the sake of this video, to make them the same. So my diagonal of my ruler is sitting right there on the diagonal of my block. 1.25 is my halfway point to make a 2.5 inch block. So you can see I have a lot to trim up. Now you wouldn't have to do this, or you could start with smaller half square triangles to make them smaller if you want to. And I will have a cheat sheet in our society page if you would like to join us there, so you don't have to do the math for any of these things. So now I'm just lining it back up with 2.5 and 2.5 with 1.25 in the middle and my diagonal on the block. And I'm going to trim off these two sides. Now I have a cute little 2.5-inch hourglass block. And I'm going to do the same thing to this one. And there we go. Cute, cute little block. So now we can make a cool looking block in several different ways. Like you could put them all going the same direction. You could turn two of them so that the darks are matching up with the lights and the lights are matching up with the darks. Something like that. You can make them as outside corners to another block and put something else in the middle, like a square within a square and you're flying geese, something fun like that. So now you know the basics of making an hourglass block. Great job! Hey, thanks so much for joining me today in making hourglass blocks 2 at a time. I hope that you enjoyed this tutorial and you're going to go try it for yourself. If you would like more tips, tricks, and tutorials, I invite you to join our society. There you'll get a library full of quilting tutorials to help you on your quilting journey. Next week, we're going to be making a 4-patch. We'll see you then.